We'll call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, all members are present. Approval of the agenda. Let's see, we have revised.
Just 11D.
Oh, 11D, the Central Minnesota Pond Racing Snowmobile is addition down in informational items. That's the change. Does the council have any changes or anything? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the December 16th, 2020 regular meeting. I'll receive them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, clarification needed? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 16th, 2020 meeting?
Make a motion.
Motion by Shallon, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 3 in favor, none against, 2 abstentions. This brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak to the council? Is there anyone that wants to speak to the council? Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. We have no reports and presentations. Action items, 7A, approve resolution number 2021-01, adopting rules of order for council meetings.
This is an annual thing that you do every year at the beginning of the year, and you have to adopt rules of order for your council meetings. And what the rules of order are, sets the agenda format and talks about how to call special meetings and that type of thing. We're not recommending any changes from the prior year. So this is resolution 2021-01, adopting the rules of order.
Questions? Comments? Does anyone on the council want to change the way we've been doing things?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2021-01?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve resolution number 2021-02, appointing council members to serve on various boards and commissions, and also make annual appointments. Basically, I'll go through the list. There's only a couple changes. I think everybody's pretty much satisfied where they're at, but I do have a couple switches. So, acting mayor will remain Heidi. The engineer will remain Stan Tech. Pemberton Law will be the city attorney. Dr. Mary Thomas will be the medical director. HRA board liaison will be Shallon. Park board will now be myself instead of Diane. Planning commission will be myself. EDA, Heidi will remain on there along with Joe. Sauk Center, or Senior Center liaison will be Diane. Airport Commission will be Shallon. CVB Board will now be Diane instead of me. Policy and Planning Committee will be Joe and Shallon. Operations Committee will be Shallon and Diane. Personnel Finance Committee will be myself and Heidi. The official newspaper will be Sauk Center Herald. Depositories will be Minnesota National Bank, First State Bank, Central Minnesota Credit Union, the 4M Fund, Multi-Bank Securities, and Bremer Bank. Official signatories will be Vicki Willer, Jacqueline Kirchhoff, and myself. Fire Chief will be Steve Moritz, First Assistant Jeff Bromanchenko, Second Assistant Ben Klink, Secretary/Treasurer Dave Moritz, and Training Safety Officer will be Wayne Sentz. Is there any questions, or did I go too fast, or if you were writing them down?
We're good.
Kept up?
I would just say, with the fire department, Mike Anderson will actually be our secretary. That was done last night.
Who will be?
Michael Anderson?
Oh, Mike Anderson instead of Dave?
Correct.
Okay. So Mike Anderson will be the Secretary Treasurer for the fire department.
That meeting last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Any conflicts that I didn't know about? Okay. That, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-02 with those changes?
Make a
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Shallen, seconded by Diane. Any last discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, accept CVB board resignation.
Asmita Patel has submitted her resignation on the Convention and Visitors Bureau Board. Her position expires December 31st, 2022. She has recommended her manager of the hotel be appointed, and we did send her an application to see if she was interested. But at this point, we're just requesting to accept the resignation of Asmita Patel from the CVB Board.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to accept the resignation?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve EMT advancement.
Ambulance Director Kathy Strufert has presented for approval the advancement of one EMT for the department to be effective January 7th, and you do have a copy of her letter of recommendation in the file. And this is Joseph, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, Akambasi, I'm not sure, from probationary EMT to EMTB level 1. So I'll approve that EMT as presented.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve that EMT appointment?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve submission of pay equity compliance.
Every 3 years, the city is required to submit a pay equity compliance report to the state of Minnesota. The purpose of the report is to verify that the city does not have a discrepancy in pay between male jobs and female jobs, given equal value or points. The city is required to report by January 31st of 2021 using our December 31, 2020 wages. I went online and completed the report and printed out the compliance report, which is in front of you, which is a little bit Greek, but what it shows is that we have an underpayment ratio of 105, which anything over 80 is actually passing. So it does show that we are in compliance based on that. It's the statistical analysis test, and the percentage is derived by dividing the number of males below the predicted pay line by the number of females below the predicted pay line. And the predicted pay line is on the next page of your report. We have a nice line that just goes straight up, and pretty much the squares are female and male jobs. You can kind of see that the more points you have, the higher you go. And they all stay pretty close to that line. So this is a good report. In past years, we've had them all over the place. So we're happy with that. So what I'm looking to do tonight is just to have you approve and authorize the submittal of the pay equity report to the state of Minnesota.
Questions or comments? Okay, do I have a motion to approve and authorize the submittal of the pay equity report?
Make a motion to approve. Send it.
Is that Shellen?
Yep.
And I'll second.
Motion by Shellen, second by Heidi. Any last minute questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, consider donation of storm pond, Sauk Center opportunities.
On December 2nd, we received a letter from Mark Uppus on behalf of Sauk Center Opportunities, and the letter is included in your packet, offering to donate to the city the storm pond that's in the industrial park. The storm pond was platted as part of the original development by Sauk Center Opportunities in 1977. The properties within the development, among others, drain into that pond. City staff has reviewed the proposal. We do have some concerns regarding the cost of cleaning and maintaining the pond. We did ask Sauk Center Opportunities if they would cover the cost of a study, so we would have some answers prior to taking action. Sauk River Watershed had provided an estimate from their engineer regarding cost to survey and probe the pond to determine the original condition, so an estimate could be given. That original estimate was $4,500. They are updating that to include sampling to determine types of soil and also to determine how much of the pond is actually a wetland, because it was partially a wetland in the past. That estimate from $4,500 is now about $6,000. According to the letter, Sauk Center Opportunities did decline to cover those costs. We do have some options. We can just decline to accept it. We can pay for the study prior to taking any action, or we can accept it as is. So if the council considers accepting the pond as is, it should consider the cost of any future actions, including completing the study, cost to repair and maintain, and would there be potential assessments to the benefiting properties in the industrial park, or if it would be a tax levy or stormwater utility funding. And we really don't know what that dollar amount would be because we haven't had a study done to determine how much volume is in there and what it would cost to clean it. So on the table tonight is to consider the accepting the pond. In his letter he said outlot B, but it's actually A, which is the main pond. B is just a strip there behind emblems. It's a little drainage ditch. So it is actually both outlots A and B in the Sauk Center Industrial Park. I did include the plat for you. You can see where the pond is. It says low area on the plat. And then we have Sus here that she would answer any questions that you have regarding that pond.
Questions, comments? Concerns?
Sounds like it's going to be a kind of a burden for the taxpayers, Mayor.
Yeah, you know, my thoughts are is, you know, it isn't our pond. And basically, we all know that Sauk Center Opportunities just sold their last few lots up there, so basically, it's kind of like they don't have a vested interest in this, so let's give it to the city and let the taxpayers clean it up, and that it could have been for the last, what, 40 years. You know, it's kind of a dig at them, but I think everybody looks at it in common sense and can see that basically that's what it is. We do have our sewer lines running into it, but that was part of the agreement with Sauk Center Opportunities, that they would dedicate all the easements and streets and lines in that area to the city, but the outlot, the pond, they never did. Do we put that burden on the taxpayers? We don't know how much it is. Do we pay $6,000 now for a study to find out, even though we already know, looking at maps from 1951, that that was a swamp or low area? Are we gonna actually find out where the real bottom was?
I guess I have a question regarding future, if we need to do anything with the loop, is that Sauk Center Opportunities, or is that property of Sauk Center? I mean, it's a road.
The road is a city road. It was dedicated to the city.
Because they dedicated everything to us.
So if we end up having to do anything with that road in the future, what happens with the pond? does that, is that assessed to Sauk Center Opportunities, or how, what would happen with the infrastructure underneath?
Underneath the road, you mean? Adjacent to the pond?
And also, well, we would assume frontage too, so I guess I'm
One of
thinking out loud.
one of the things, and Vicki and I've talked about this a lot, is the outlet to that holding pond goes down to that other holding pond that's just west of the campground on Hickman Drive. And there's sediment now making its way that far. So we're gonna have to clean out, use the jetter, clean that storm sewer out, but unless the main pond gets emptied or cleaned out, it's just gonna keep happening, because that outlet's into Hoboken Creek. Both of them need to be cleaned. One of the things is if we do take over the property and we make a storm water district, if I say this right, then everyone that has water that's flowing into it's gonna get assessed for that holding pond. Right now, they're not getting assessed for it, because we don't own the pond.
But something's gonna have to happen with it.
Something eventually. The other idea I had is, but we've got too much, from what I understand, we've got too many lines going into it, that I said, well, if we need to, we can just not accept it, and we can dig up in the easements and take our lines and connect it to one line and just bypass the holding pond and be done with it. But from what I understand, we've got too many lines coming down to that point.
Well, it's acting as a sediment basin. It is collecting a lot of sediment when you can see in there. And so environmentally, from an environmental standpoint, we recognize and have recognized for many years that something needs to be done with the pond. It's like, who does something with it? And so now you're sitting here as a city, and our taxpayers, our property owners, it is their property that is draining into there. And so it becomes kind of a, do we just take that on because is it the right thing to do? I don't know, that's up to you. But something needs to be done with that pond. The sediment is actually higher than the outlet. And so the water, when it's coming in, it's coming on, it's building a berm. And so something has to be done with that pond. Now, whether we do it or Sauk Center Opportunities does it or some other party does it, I don't think we can just ignore the pond. Something has to be done. I don't know if this is the body that should be doing it, and that's what your decision is tonight. So I don't think it's a matter of ignoring it. Something has to be done. I just don't know if the city should take that on or not. I mean, and you can talk to Sauk Center Opportunities. I know they said in their letter, they have, a charitable purpose that they're trying to use their money for. And I can understand why they don't want to spend it to clean a stormwater pond. However, it kind of is their pond.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I feel like
It's
this
a
is,
catch-22.
Yeah.
well, I feel like this is any other property owner that we need to enforce our requirements or, our expectations as any other property owner. What rights do we have to enforce that with them?
like who's the sediment pond police?
I mean, do we have any sort of a hold on requiring, an expectation with that pond?
Typically, because, and it's set up different than any of our other ones where we have an easement. If we have an easement to the pond, like on private property, really what it is, it's a pond on private property that a lot of property owners drain into. It just never was set up dedicated as an easement or dedicated to the city. So it was set up a little different than our other ones. Other ones, when we have an easement, we have a right to go in there and do what we need to do. We don't even have a right to go in there and do anything to this pond right now. So, because we don't own it, it's not ours. We don't even have an easement over it. And but it was set aside for storm drainage, but it doesn't say whose storm drainage, it's just set aside for that.
And there's
in the
no
plat. So it's like, this is just kind of something that needs to be cleaned up one way or another. I mean, cleaned up ownership-wise, it also has to be cleaned up physically,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I guess my question is like, is there a stormwater ordinance? Is there something regarding holding ponds?
Regarding when they need to be cleaned.
Yeah.
I talked to the watershed about that and the MPCA, and what's gonna trigger something there is that's starting to overflow into the other ones, and then you get to the lake, and then
Yeah.
there's your enforcement. It kinda comes from that end back up. You know, if it was a pond in the middle of a field that didn't outlet anywhere, but this outlets to Sauk Lake. And it outlets down, it goes cross-country. So that's where your pond police, I guess, would come in, when you start discharging sediment and discharge that phosphorus into the lake because it's no longer settling out in the pond. That's where the issue would come in.
Any other thoughts from anyone else?
I guess my general thoughts is the fact that we don't know what we're looking at. We're being asked to bear the burden of the cost to do this study to find out what we potentially be taking on. I think without any collaboration, anything from them, I decline to accept the pond. I mean, why would we pay for a problem that's not ours and then bear the burden of cleaning it up as well and put it on our taxpayers? So my thought is we decline.
I agree with Joe.
And that's basically kind of like the way I looked at it too. You know, our other holding pond down by where it goes into Hoboken Creek and into the lake probably wouldn't be getting filled up if it wouldn't be here. In fact, this one hasn't been taken care of, and now it's created other problems for us. And it's actually basically nobody's fault that there wasn't any language put in place when it was done at the city level or at opportunities level. But their piece of property is causing us to have more problems and whatever, and
Well, and that's my fear, is that those surrounding properties or those affected by whatever could happen in the future before the watershed has to step in, it's gonna come back on us. We're gonna get, complaint after complaint without recognizing that this is not our
right.
issue.
It could go either way, but as of right, I tend to agree with Joe to decline to accept the pond. Is it justifiable to spend $6,000 to find out how much sediment's in there when we can basically see that the sediment's higher than the pipe?
Yeah.
To me, that's a waste of money too.
And it's nice that they want to donate this burden to the taxpayers, but I'm not buying it. I agree with Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? You want a motion, or you just
I need some, yeah, I do need a motion.
need a
I'm
motion?
gonna have to get
Okay.
back to them, and,
Do I have a motion from any of the council members on either one of those three?
But I'll make a motion on number 1, decline to accept the pond.
Okay, we have a motion from Diane to decline to accept the pond,
I'll second that.
and Joe second it. Okay, any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 8, unfinished business, board openings.
we do have some board openings here that we did not get filled in December. And we have one opening on the HRA board for 5 years. We have 2 on the park board for 2 years. We have 1 on the planning commission. It's for an unexpired term. We have 1 on the CVB, which we had just accepted a resignation tonight, and we have 1 on the senior center board. So we did advertise that in the paper. It's out this week. And if anybody knows anyone that would be interested, they can fill out a nomination form, and we'll take action on a future meeting on those. And if anybody has questions about what those boards entail, we have bylaws and examples of the types of things that those boards do. So they can certainly stop in or give us a call.
If in case we don't end up with anybody that applies for the park board, so we can fill it, since we have 2 open spots, is there that much business on the park board right now that we could just absorb that with the council, or?
It ebbs and flows, I guess. You know, right now they're working on the new bathroom in the campground and kind of some campground renovations and that type. Or you just put a council person on there, so, I mean, we actually do have 3 members now, but we do have the 2 openings. And
Right.
another option that we would have, you know, is, you know, maybe go every other month if we don't have enough activity to do.
I was just wondering how many times we met, or they met in 2020.
I
If
think
it
they
was-
met 10 times. I think we missed 2 meetings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking if it was less than half a dozen times, then it would
I've
make
had pretty
sense.
good- I've actually did a pretty good attendance in 2020. I just had some people that decided not to re-up because they've been on a while, and,
Okay. Okay,
which is understandable.
We did have one apply today.
That was in
turned-
19.
Huh?
What did you say?
I said we did have one that wrote out an application today.
Oh, okay, we had one application
Okay.
today, she says.
all right, so, okay. Any questions about that? We have no new business. That brings us to our consent agenda. We have schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $877,330.97. Paid claims as of December 31st of $48,378.33, for a total of $925,709.30. We have Resolution 2021-03, accepting contributions of $500 for the ambulance department from Community Connection, $500 for the police department from Community Connection, and $500 to the fire department from Community Connection. We have a contribution of $48,000 from the Fire Relief Association to be allocated to the fire department. Kids blankets from Hattie Walter to be allocated to the ambulance department. Food and snack items from Joanne and Larry Lowinger to be allocated to the ambulance department. Face shields from Karen and Kurt Erickson and Sons for the ambulance department. $15,000 for the park department for the fish cleaning shack from the Sauk Center Conservation Club. $10,000 for the park department for the dock. $15,000 from Black Oak Getty Foundation to be allocated to the outdoor skating rink. $100 from Tim and Patty Lowinger for the fire department, and $75 from Terry and Helen Lassell for the senior center. And on behalf of the council and the community, I want to thank those people and organizations for their donation. Is there any questions about the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Shallen, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
So I have a few informational items. The Minnesota Department of Transportation Aeronautics Board has issued a commissioner's order approving the airport zoning ordinance. The next step is for the Joint Airport Zoning Board to approve and the City Council to adopt an ordinance appending the zoning ordinance into our city code. I did include the findings in your packet for what the commissioners found regarding the ordinance. The second thing is the 2021 meeting calendar for all the different boards and commissions, and all their meeting dates is attached for your, you know, if you're ever wondering when your meetings are. There was a Spectrum lineup change from charter. And then the last item I have is the Central Minnesota Pond Racing, which is the snowmobile races on Sauk Lake, will be held January 23rd, which is the third Saturday of January, at public access in Sinclair Lewis Park. So they will have those pond races, or the races, the ice oval races again this year down there. So that is all I have.
Any questions on the informational items? That brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Heidi, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.